Hi guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top 10 favorite neutral eyeshadow palettes of all time. Now, you guys know I love color. You guys know color is probably the most thing I have in my collection. I have a lot of different eyeshadow palettes that are super colorful. Not many neutral palettes, but the ones that I do have are my holy grails and I love them whenever I want to do a really nice, gorgeous, neutral look like today. These are the palettes that I immediately think of and pull from. So if you guys want to see my top 10 favorites of neutral palettes, then definitely keep on watching. So these are not going to be in any particular order. I literally just put them all in a basket and we're literally going to go through all 10 palettes, so they're not ranked or anything like that. But the first palette I want to share with you guys is one that you guys hear me talk about so much. It's honestly my favorite palette from Huda Beauty. It is the Huda Beauty Naughty palette. This palette is my favorite one from Huda. If you love neutrals, this is such a beautiful palette to have in your collection. Okay, if there's anything you can get, any palette from Huda, I would recommend this one, especially if you love neutrals. This one is so pretty. Even though it does lean a little bit more red neutral, it's still a really gorgeous palette. Now, if you don't like warm tones, you might not like this palette, but me personally, those are the kind of shades I gravitate to, more warm toned shadows. So this one is one of my favorites, had to include it in this video. You guys already know the drill. This next palette is from Natasha Denona. This is the bronze palette. Now, this palette right here is also really neutral, but it's so gorgeous. This is such a beautiful palette. I feel like every look that I have gotten with this palette, I have just fallen in love with. It is honestly like the best thing ever. Natasha Denona is a brand that I have just fallen in love with so quickly and I'm obsessed. I'm happy I have it in my collection. I have used this on lots of special occasions, but it's also just really great for everyday as well. Let's get into this next palette because this next palette is what I'm wearing on my eyes today. And you guys know, like, if I'm gonna do neutral, I'm gonna do a neutral matte look. I love an all matte look. Yeah, like today, like when I do a matte eye, I'm like my whole base, everything has to be matte. I just love how everything looks. This palette right here is, oh, it's the Colourpop Gone Matte palette. You guys, I love this palette so much. It is not even funny how much I love this palette. It's what I'm wearing on my eyes today. I just feel like I get the prettiest looks with this palette. It has everything that you could need. I feel like this is just a gorgeous palette. It's a great necessity if you love a matte look. This is it right here. Or if you're doing like a regular look with shimmers and you just need that black or like that pop of like, you know, that special transition shade to tie the look together or something to pop in the outer corner for dimension, this palette is perfect for that. And I just absolutely love this palette. It's honestly my favorite, one of my favorite palettes from Colourpop. It's my favorite 30 pan palette from Colourpop, but I just love it so much. There's cool tones, there's warm tones, there's lots of depth in this. I use like 4 shades from this palette to create this look today. If you guys want to see a tutorial on this look or a matte look, this is honestly my everyday makeup look, to be honest. Whenever I do a nice, gorgeous everyday look, this is the kind of look that I go for. But this palette is just everything. Next two palettes I'm going to be sharing with you guys are both from Juvia's Place. Now, Juvia's Place has some of the best neutral palettes ever. Now, these two are very, very special to me. I love these palettes so much. The first one is the Warrior palette from Juvia's. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous neutral palette. It is absolutely stunning. There's 3 mattes in here and the rest are shimmers, but I feel like you just get so many looks out of this palette. And I feel like you have everything you need. You have a really nice white shade that you can put all over the lid to set everything up to the brow bone. You can use this shade right here for depth. You have this shade as a really gorgeous universal transition shade as well. The shimmers in this palette are so beautiful. I highly recommend this one if you are not familiar with Juvia's Place but you don't really know what to grab. I definitely would recommend this one. Now, when I tell you guys that I love an all matte look, trust and believe me when I say that I do, because this palette is an all matte palette, but it's so different, okay? It's very different. I feel like this is one of the neutral palettes in my collection where I honestly have to think about the look that I'm gonna do with this palette because the tones in here are just so different, but they're so beautiful. I feel like you can just get so many gorgeous looks with this palette. This is also a really great companion palette as well, but this right here just has everything you need. I feel like this is also a really good palette to pull from whenever you need like a good transition shade or a shade to help deepen up the outer corner. It is just so gorgeous and it's beautiful. Very, very beautiful. This black in here is super, super intense. You need a really good black. Check this one out. It's really gorgeous. The next palette I have is from Makeup by Mario. This is his Master Matte palette. Now, I know what you guys are probably thinking. What is the difference between this one and the Colourpop one? And the first thing off the bat is the price, okay? This is expensive, but I do think that if you don't own either, the Colourpop one is a great one because you get more shades, and I feel like these shades are in that palette, so I would prefer the Colourpop one. I recommend the Colourpop one even more. But if you want to just try something from Makeup by Mario, or if you've just been eyeing this particular palette and you want it, it's a really great palette to have. I love this palette. It's really gorgeous and I highly recommend it. It's all matte. I always use this one, especially when I just want to wear like a single shadow. I'll just take one of these shades and pop it in the crease and then take a single shadow and plop that on the lid. I also think this one is more travel friendly than the Colourpop one. So I feel like this one, you just might find it better because it is smaller, but the price is a lot more than the Colourpop. Okay, so the next palette is from Glam Light. This is the Glam Light Chocolate Martini palette. This palette is so beautiful. I cannot get over how gorgeous this is. Every time I wear this palette, I get so many compliments on my eye look. It's just really gorgeous. There's so many beautiful shimmers in here. If you have never tried Glam Light before, this is a really gorgeous palette to have. I highly recommend this one, especially for my neutral lovers out there. This palette is just really, really beautiful to have. It's one of my favorites. I feel like, of course, I had to have a Glam Light palette in here because their formula is just so good. I was trying to contemplate if I wanted to use this palette today on my eyes or the Colourpop one, and I just ended up going with the Colourpop because I love my all matte look. I could have done an all matte look with this, but I was like, no, let me use the Colourpop because I'm obsessed. But really gorgeous. The shimmers in here are beautiful as well. I'm gonna swatch a few. There's also some like pops of color in here. You can play around with some color as well. It's really, really gorgeous. The next palette is from Morphe. This one is actually from the Jaclyn Hill collection. This is the Jaclyn Hill Divine Neutrals palette. Now, when I first got this palette, I didn't think that I would love this palette as much as I do. I just find that the shades in here are really gorgeous. I love the depth of this palette. I love that it goes from light to dark, and I just love that there's literally something in here for everyone. It's so inclusive, very travel friendly, easy to pull from. I just love using this palette. I have brought this with me a lot of places when I traveled because it just has everything that I need. I literally can just take one of the shades and then the corresponding shimmer and I'm good to go, and I have a completed eye look. The way that this was just so thought out, I love it. I absolutely love it. So that's why I have this in my top 10. Okay, this could not be a top 10 favorites without a Beauty Bay eyeshadow palette. Now, you guys, if you have not seen this palette, you're gonna love it. You're gonna die for this palette because you guys, I love Beauty Bay, and I've seen your comments on my recent Beauty Bay videos. You guys love Beauty Bay as well, but if you love neutrals, you're gonna love this baby right here. This is the nude palette from Beauty Bay. This is the 42 pan one. They do have smaller pans if you prefer those, but this one, you guys know I love the 42 because I just think it's worth the money for sure. You just get a lot for your money, and this is what it looks like right here. Now, I use this palette usually, mostly, all the time. Whenever I'm doing someone's makeup, I immediately pull from this palette because everything that I need. When I say it has everything, literally everything. There's grays in here, blacks, deep browns. Every transition shade you could ever need is in this palette. The shimmers in here are gorgeous. Now, I will say, something about this palette is that the more recent Beauty Bay palettes have that like special shimmer in them. The formula in this is good, but it's not their most recent formula. Like, these shimmers are just like regular shimmers. These aren't their like super like buttery, ultra shine shimmers in this palette. I kind of hope that they redo this palette and do like a nude 2.0 kind of vibe. I love this one for like, you know, doing people's makeup and stuff, but I just kind of want them to redo it as well. I want to see a 2.0. I know they did a fiery 2.0, and that like had their revamped formula. It was so much better than the original fiery. I want to see a nude 2.0. All right, so my number 10 palette, the last one I want to share with y'all is, I'm kind of cheating a little bit with this one because it's 3 palettes. What was I holding up? These are the Colourpop quad palettes. So I have 3 right here. This one is Bare It All. They're all matte, by the way. Now, honestly, you guys do not need these mini palettes if you own the Gone Matte palette, or if you're thinking about getting the Gone Matte palette, because these shades are in that palette. I 1000% believe that they are. But if you prefer smaller palettes like this, this is a good option. So this one is Bare It All. Love this one. Then we have So Natural. This one is more warm toned. And then the last one we have is Down to Earth, which is the more deeper one. It's really gorgeous. I love this one so much, especially the black. Oh, talk about a very intense black. I love it. Highly recommend these 3. They also have a cool toned one. This one's pretty cool, Bare It All, but there's more in this little collection that they came out with. I think these are great for travel. I love them. They're really great, and I love them a lot. I constantly reach for those. All of these palettes I constantly reach for. They're some of my favorite neutral palettes. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know your thoughts down below. I am sorry my lighting was all over the place in this video. I'm going to fix that for the next one. But until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.